moment to breathe, grab a beverage or two. We got professional guests with lots of stories for you. So take a seat right here and join us on Careers Over Beers.
Welcome to Careers Over Beers podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And before we start, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Kansas State Wildcats on the Big 12 championship win.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
No. Was that today?
That was today.
No, I didn't see it.
That was about an hour ago, so I'm a little bit buzzed right now.
Yeah.
Because, man, big deal. Big 12 champs beat TCU undefeated, number 3, and I think we're going to the Sugar Bowl. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, go Cats.
Yes.
And you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yeah. My name's David Akao. Some people call me Trainer Dave.
Trainer Dave?
Yeah, Coach Dave, whatever. I'm basically a sports performance coach.
Yeah.
Kind of personal trainer. Very similar. And I train with Amplify. We are located inside of Wichita Hoops right now. We're more of a sports performance kind of gym. So I work with a lot of athletes. I do work with a little bit of general population as well, but definitely love what I do.
Right on, man. You said you were similar to a personal trainer.
Yes.
And I know I spoke with a personal trainer recently. Shout out to Tiger Faulkner.
Yes.
And he said that, he doesn't really deal with athletes as much. Most people do want to deal with athletes when they get into this occupation.
For sure.
So you're kind of doing the dream gig for a lot of kids probably that want to go this route.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and obviously I listened to that episode, and I can kind of see where he's coming from because it can be I think it's a little bit more oversaturated. Everybody's trying to work with athletes.
The sports.
Exactly. Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people may not at first want to work with old people. And I actually have, a handful of older adults that I work with as well. But yeah, no, I think sports performance, I love it. I was a athlete growing up in high school. Yeah. And then I played college football.
Did you really?
I did. I played at Coffeyville and Friends.
Okay.
Never made it to the D1, but I did play at the college level, and I always felt like, strength conditioning and speed and agility is kind of what helped set me apart as an athlete. And so, now I kind of get to share what I've learned and help, the aspiring athletes, get to where they want to be.
It's always good to have a coach that's been there and done that.
For sure.
Somebody that understands it,
Yeah, I think that's what kind of helps me, sets me apart is, I'm only 23. I'm kind of fresh out of college. And so I feel like I can relate with the kids that I train pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hell yeah, dude. And we're drinking Monster Zeros today.
Yes.
That was your drink of choice.
Caffeine's my best friend. I think pretty much any personal trainer or coach, you work a lot of long hours, so you gotta drink a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, and these are very popular where I work. Monster Energy Zeros, the white ones.
Yes.
People are obsessed with these things. They drink them like they're water.
I think the white one is kind of the classic, and that's one of my favorites as well.
Zero cal, zero sugar. Can't complain.
Can't complain at all.
I might dump a little vodka in mine later on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Boot Hill Distillery once again. They're a sponsor of mine. So yeah, cheers, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's drink some Monsters. It's not very often I drink Monster, but when I do, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, not a big caffeine guy.
I am. I drink a lot of coffee.
Coffee, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I drank a lot of energy drinks when I was younger, and then I made the health choice at some point to switch over to coffee just because. And then I started drinking way too much coffee, and so I cut back. So now I do like a couple cups.
Yeah, as long as you get some type of caffeine. I think it should be.
And then I switched to cocaine when I got old enough. Which I would advise you to do the same.
Okay.
Get a chance. No, I'm kidding. All right, man. Well, so you kind of told us your background a little bit and stuff. Where did you begin with this whole journey of becoming a performance coach or trainer?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I went to Friends. I feel like when I was in high school is when the whole journey started. Well, actually, I'll say 8th grade probably, middle school 8th grade. That's when I started lifting weights. I was 12 years old. I started lifting in my mom's basement. Had like a 300-pound weight set, and would work out like 3 days a week, and I got a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and I think a lot of my teammates and coaches kind of recognized I was kind of kind of set apart from the rest of the athletes that weren't doing strength training at the time. And I just continued to fall in love with it throughout high school, took it seriously.
Set apart physically or in terms of like motivation?
I'd say both. I
Both.
always felt like I had the drive to kind of push myself. I didn't really have a personal trainer when I was younger. But then also physically, I felt like my maxes on bench and squat were always higher than the rest of my classmates. And so
What was your max bench?
when I was I think my freshman year, I benched 205, which is, decent. And then
For 14, yeah.
Yeah. Then my senior year, I benched, I think it was like 285.
Damn.
And I was probably about 190 pounds when I was in high school. Maybe I'm about 205 now.
Yeah.
So
Are you still lifting pretty heavy to this day?
quite a bit. I still love training like I'm an athlete. So usually try to work out about 4 days a week. And yeah, definitely love it. And so yeah, I still like to train like I'm an athlete. Like I got a game to play every weekend, even though I don't. But
I'm sure you miss that feeling.
I do. I really do. Yeah.
When you had something to look forward to every week, like
for sure
going against a new opponent. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I can kind of relate with my athletes. Is I can just kind of see that drive inside of them, and I feel like the drive is still inside of me, but now it's just career focused, and I have that drive to be the best trainer I can be now.
What do you do when you have a student or an athlete that doesn't really have their mind in it? They don't really want to do it, but they're being pushed hard by their parents or something. Do you see that often?
I do. It's like there's two different ways. Like one, I have some athletes that I train there. Like the parents were really good as athletes and they played in college and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I feel like they push, their kids to be the same way. And then there's like the opposite where like, there's like there were like parents that weren't the best athletes themselves, but they want their kid to be
the best.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So luckily most of the kids I work with are pretty driven. But I think just what separates a good coach from a great coach is you gotta, communicate in ways that the athlete will understand, how this exercise is going to help them, this squat is going to help you jump higher, the sled push is going to help you sprint faster, stuff like that. Kind of help relate it into ways they would understand and just help them fall in love with the process of getting better each and every workout.
And in your position, are you mainly just doing weight training?
So actually, it's probably a little bit of both. I have a lot of athletes come to me for speed and agility. I feel like there's a big niche and a big need for that is getting faster. But I do kind of believe firmly, everybody needs to be doing strength training. And a lot of times if you want to get faster, you have to get stronger in order to do that. So it's probably about 50-50. I do know how to run a speed and agility session, which is just body weight basically and, doing different sprint mechanic drills and whatnot. But then I also love, trying to get my athletes in the weight room and getting them stronger as well.
So what is your role overall? Like, are you involved with the sports that they're involved in, or are you just do one-on-one clients? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, I call it basically, I would call it, I'm in the private sector, you know, so, obviously the parents are the ones paying me. I'm kind of running my own business, whereas, there's high school and college strength conditioning. So what I do is a little bit different. I'm not really working with
their teams or anything.
No, not really. We do have some contracts with some club sport teams, but
so these are people that are coming to you and they're saying, hey, my kid wants to get better and stronger and faster. Will you privately coach him and strengthen him or her?
Yeah. That's pretty much kind of what it is.
What's your business then?
So, basically the gym I train primarily out of is Amplify, and basically our goal is to bring the college strength conditioning experience into the private sector.
Okay.
I think the problem I see is there's a lot of trainers in the Wichita area that maybe aren't the most qualified to work with athletes. I think people think it's easy to train athletes, and to be honest, kind of to a certain extent, a lot of these athletes are still going through puberty and whatnot. So like kind of pretty much anything a lot of times you do with them is going to help them get better. But we believe we go more in depth. Myself and then Andy, another trainer at the gym, is certified strength conditioning specialist. So that's like, if you ever wanted to be a college strength coach, you have to have that certification. And so, we believe it's just little things like that set us apart, and we go a little bit more detailed in the way we program for our athletes.
So this is kind of a newer thing. It's not something that's been around for a long time, and you see more of a desire for it.
Yeah, well, with Amplify, we've been in business for a little bit over a year now, and I actually started my career at the YMCA, and I did train some athletes there. I think there's just a little bit of a barrier when you're trying to train athletes at a big box gym, where now we're basically kind of independent. We have our own target market. We're inside of Wichita Hoops, so there's kind of athletes already built in, and so I think we only see bigger and better things from here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And your ultimate goal is to go on to college, or are you trying to stay in this private sector and just build your clientele?
Yeah. I'm kind of really just trying to stay in the private sector and build my clientele. I am looking at, becoming a gym owner in the future, and, basically managing trainers and, basically operating a sports performance facility is something I've been looking into. But, basically I think the downfall is a lot of people don't understand with college strength conditioning is it's believe it or not, it's very low pay. Everybody's basically trying to do it. So
if you're working for a university or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty oversaturated.
Is it?
Usually you have to work for free, intern, become a GA. So 3 or 4 years of working for free in order to get a spot. And then that spot's usually typically not the best pay. Mm-hmm. And then you usually have to relocate. I was a Wichita kid, so been, pretty much born and raised here and lived here pretty much my whole life. And so I definitely see the need for a sports performance facility in Wichita, and I think there's a lot of talent, in Wichita, and I think a sports performance facility will help just create more opportunities for our athletes.
Are college kids actually coming to you as well, or is it mainly high school?
It's mainly high school. That's kind of our target demographic.
Yeah.
I have had some college athletes that I have worked with. It is a little bit trickier with the college athletes for sure, just because again, we really only have Wichita State, Friends, and Newman. So a lot of times those athletes will, if we are to work with those athletes, typically it's in the off season, maybe in the summers when they're home, or else like over winter or Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times those college athletes do have like full-time strength conditioning coaches, whereas in the high school athletes, a lot of times they just have sport coaches running their weights program, which a lot of times, unfortunately, they're not the most qualified to be, in the weight room teaching strength conditioning. And I think, especially in the high school setting, and when you have, 20, 30 athletes, it's hard to customize a program specifically to that person. It can kind of get cookie cutter, and everyone's doing the same thing. So when they come to me in the private sector, we can assess them and kind of customize a program just tailored exactly to that individual.
Right. And what makes you qualified? What were your credentials to become a sports training performance coach like this?
So, like I said, I've been an athlete myself. I think that's a big thing. Is I've lived the grind. Playing in JUCO, and to NAIA. I did play a little bit of arena football with the Force.
Oh, really?
A little bit, yeah. So I guess I can kind of say I was a pro athlete.
That's pretty cool.
And then I have my bachelor's degree in health and physical education from Friends. And then I did sit for my CSCS exam and passed it. And that's, people don't understand, like, that's a very difficult certification to get. It's not just a certified personal training certification. You are required to have a 4-year degree. It has about a 60% pass rate. It's all about, the anatomy of the body, exercise technique, nutrition, all the basic things you need to do, or you need to know to train high-level athletes. And then
that's the certification that you said is required to go on to college?
College, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So that, and then just the years of experience I've had, I've trained a lot of different athletes, from youth athletes to high school to college. And, it's definitely a passion of mine.
Yeah. And are your credentials ever checked by anybody, or is this something that anybody could do? Could I open up my own place right now and just say, you know what, I'm going to be a strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, no, and that's honestly, unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
It is?
Yeah, there are, I know of some gyms in town where, the people running it, and I mean,
aren't qualified, in your opinion?
Well, I don't want to say that. It's just, the CSCS is a rare certification to find. And so I know a lot of gym owners don't, and trainers that claim to train athletes don't have it.
So you can promote yourself with that and say, look what I have here. I have what the college performance coach
Yes, yeah, and that's what we try to do. But the sad reality is, athletes and the parents don't even know what a CSCS is most of the time. So you have to kind of communicate other ways. Just like, I think with the athletes, it's pretty cool and unique is that it's easy to get referrals from their teammates and the parents. So just saying, hey, I work with, this kid, and this is what he's been able to do. He's, increased his vertical jump by 5 inches. His 40-yard dash has gone down, by 0.2 seconds. And we have the data to prove it that our training works.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what was I going to ask? I had a question I was going to ask. Man, I forgot it now. Oh well. Anyways, when it comes to the workouts themselves and stuff like that, where does most of that knowledge come from? Is that just personal experience?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's personal experience. It's I've had a lot of great coaches and mentors I've been around. So like my strength coach at Friends, Coach Belden, I take a lot of stuff from him. And then I had I interned for a strength coach at Newman that I use a lot of his stuff. And then my boss that I work with, Andy, he's super knowledgeable. We learned some stuff from him. So you kind of just take things from everybody you've been around and the people you've been around and kind of make it into your own.
Yeah.
And I do train some small groups and small groups and some bigger groups. And so a lot of times, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't understand is you have to, if you have a big group of people and you're not in the best facility, a lot of times you're going to have to do stuff body weight. You have to take into account the facility and how much space everyone's going to have. And especially if you're training groups, you don't want people standing around doing nothing. You really got to make sure time's utilized wisely. So I always take that into account when programming sessions.
Yeah. Is it kind of the same as the personal trainer where you're making your schedule with these clients and you're kind of booking them out
Yes.
1 day a week or something like that, and then they kind of do the rest of it on their own?
Pretty much, yeah. It's very similar. I basically kind of make my own hours. The thing about athletes is, really the only time you can train them, especially during the school years, after school.
Yeah.
So from about 4 o'clock to 9 p.m., it's pretty much jam-packed with athletes. And then I do have some general pop that I train in the early afternoons and mornings. Usually I try to get athletes in 2 to 3 times a week. The thing is, group training is definitely the most cost efficient because they could either pay $60 a session or else maybe $20 a session if they're training with 4 of their buddies. And so
is that a lot more popular than training?
Yeah,
with other
it
people?
is, especially with the athletes, just because I think it's more fun for them because they can bring their friends.
Yeah.
I like to push the aspect that there's more competition in a group setting when they're as opposed to when they're just by themselves. The group option is typically the most popular option when training athletes.
And then you have to trust them to go home and do this on their own a lot of the times, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy. A lot of these kids like I said, especially the driven kids, they have the drive to do it on their own.
They're willing to, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have any real burnouts in there that are just like, I'm not doing that shit.
There's some of those kids, and those are the ones that might be being forced to.
Their parents are pushing them to go there, yeah.
But it's crazy. I have some kids that they lift on their own. They have skill, because what I do is basically just strength conditioning and speed and agility, but there's also the skills training. So, I got some baseball kids that do arm care work, where they're basically working pitching mechanics. There's some basketball kids that I train that will do, basketball private lessons. So it's these kids are, basically lifting on their own. They're doing skills training and they're doing speed and agility with me, which is pretty crazy in my opinion.
You said that, a lot of them are going through puberty and stuff at the time, and I don't know how young you go, but is there a period there where it's detrimental to work out and stuff?
I don't think so.
When you're real young? I
think you have to be thoughtful and intentional with what you do, especially with the younger kids. There is the myth, I think, that strength training will stunt your growth if you start at a young age.
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird stuff out there like that.
Yeah. Again, it's all about what you do. So I do work with some youth athletes, some younger, 4th grade, 6th grade. And it's not necessarily detrimental for them to strength train. I think it can be very beneficial, but a lot of times you start off with body weight stuff, resistance bands. I personally would never really have somebody start right away with a barbell bench press and a barbell back squat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you think about a 4th grader lifting weights, that's kind of weird. I mean, they don't really have the testosterone even to rebuild those muscles, and plus they're growing, so it's you get real lengthy and I don't know, but I don't see why it would be detrimental. I've heard those myths, those same myths where it's it's going to stunt your growth and it's going to make you grow weird and stuff, but I never really knew the science behind it or anything.
Yeah, no, and I think there's Olympic weightlifters, I don't know if you've seen it, there's some kids in China that start super young.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. I mean, when we were kids, there was that Hercules kid. There's some of those,
I think I've seen
8 or 9 and they're just ripped,
and like I said, I think you kind of use those kids as proof that it doesn't stunt your growth. And
they probably have more growth hormone pumping through them at the time too.
Probably, yeah. And no, that's the thing is, I think even at that young age, lifting heavy will increase, their testosterone. And, that's the thing is their nervous system's kind of still developing. So neurologically, lifting weights is basically just going to help them become stronger, very quick.
But then you have those kids that are 14, 15, and they're basically already fully grown.
Yeah.
Those are crazy too. We had some of those in school.
Yeah. It's crazy. I have some freshmen and sophomores in college or in high school that they just look like they're kind of fully developed already.
Full beard and everything.
Yeah.
It's what the hell?
It's crazy. Yeah.
Do you ever have kids though that are just so unathletic that you're I don't know if you should be doing this, man?
Yeah, I'll be honest. That is something you see. Is I think they say that is a lot of times in the private sector you're not working with the best kid, most athletically gifted kids. It's hard to say if it's genetics. I think like I said, some of these kids that that's something I usually ask the kids or even the parents is I'll be did your dad play sports in college? And they'll be oh yeah, he played Division I baseball. And then I'm okay, that makes sense why you're so you're so athletically gifted. And then there are some, I mean, you could just kind of tell by the way kids run sometimes,
they just don't have it.
Yeah, and it's obviously they might take a little extra work, and so I don't want to ever say anyone can never get to a certain level. It just takes a little bit of extra time, and that's kind of how I always felt as an athlete. Is I never felt like I was the most athletically gifted, but I think I just continued to work and get better, and that's what really helped set me apart. And it's oftentimes it's those athletes that nobody ever believed in them. They weren't the 5-star athlete growing up, but if you can help mold that that kid into a 5-star athlete, I think those are the best stories. as opposed to the kids who just had it, from a young age.
They just got it.
Yeah, because there are those kids,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You've probably seen some of those too, where you're like, this is a superstar.
For sure. And those kids are great, and you can do a lot of awesome, like, high-level things with those kids that you can't do with a beginner athlete. Sometimes with the beginner athletes, you just really have to focus on the fundamentals of sprinting and learning how to move properly.
What's more important, having that natural gift or having the strongest motivation in the world?
I would say 100% the strongest motivation.
Really?
Because, yeah. I think, especially if you
let me give you an example here.
For sure, yeah.
Or let me give you a scenario. You got to pick.
Okay.
You're born with LeBron James's genetics,
Uh-huh.
but you don't give a shit about anything. You don't care about getting stronger. You're just kind of lethargic and lazy.
Yeah.
Or you're somebody that's just an average Joe like me, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like Rocky, just won't stop, just giving it my all.
I got to choose the Rocky.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Over the freak genetics?
I would, yep. I mean, obviously the freak genetics, like, I don't know. If they're lazy, they probably won't be motivated to train with me. And there are some times where I have kids where it seems like they're not really giving 100%. But then there are, like you said, there's the Rocky that they're determined, they're bought in, they're willing to do what it takes to get better. I mean, those are the kids that are
it's a lot more fun to work with, probably, for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when it comes to like freak genetics, they might not have to try at all, and they're still gonna go D1.
Yeah, I mean, you are right.
But
I don't know, like I said. So I actually started my career as a walk-on at Coffeyville, and I saw those kids all over the place, just like freak genetics, just super fast, just like, and then they're like, they like did not give a shit in the weight room.
They just threw it away.
Yeah, like no, it's just like they would just half-ass it in the weight room, and then there was me. Like I never really felt like I was the most athletically gifted. I felt like I was a decent football player in high school, but I never had any offers or anything.
Yeah.
Like I got underlooked.
You just gave it your all, though.
Yes, I did, and I think it paid off for me in the long run. Gave it up my all, because I think that's the thing is kids work hard in the weight room. They're going to work hard just in anything they do in life. Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely more beneficial mentally,
for sure,
and for your whole life. You can reference that the rest of your life if you're that kind of person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Is I tell my story. I think it's easier for kids to relate to.
Yeah,
it's like I was never the most athletically gifted growing up, but I was able to, use my, the strength, the weight room to help mold me into a better athlete, and that's kind of why I'm here today, doing what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
most kids can't relate to somebody like Michael Phelps.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's just it's not relatable. It's somebody that was gifted with the best physique ever for their sport, and it's like But they can definitely relate to a Rocky story where somebody's just an average Joe giving it their all.
I feel like that, and I feel like that's a story everyone loves.
Yeah.
So
it might be better in your case.
I think it is
for an athletic
100%.
performance coach.
Yeah.
To be more of an average Joe than to be somebody that's like this crazy career, played in the NFL and stuff, and kids are like, okay, but
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think kind of when we were talking, like I mentioned I played football, and you seemed kind of surprised. Like I played middle linebacker. I mean, I don't know if I had the typical frame. I'm about 5'10". I was probably about 205 when I played.
Yeah.
And so that's really not the average frame for a middle linebacker. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of tell my story. Like it wasn't the frame that set me apart. It was more just the strength and the speed, and also just the mentality that helped me play at the next level.
Hell yeah, man. Have you seen anything, like any weird trends out there in the world as far as like scams go with workouts? Do you see anything weird on social media?
I feel like things are changing all the time with social media, or like there's always new gimmicks coming out.
Is it making it better or worse?
I would say worse.
Really?
And here's the thing. I use social media quite a bit to market my business.
That's what I was going to ask earlier when I lost my question. Okay,
Yeah.
Because you were talking about how a lot of it's like word of mouth. A lot of your clientele is word of mouth and just relying on people to tell their friends. And I was going to say, how much has social media played a factor in your job?
So it's actually been pretty big time for me. I post every single day. And so, that's actually a pretty big thing with the athletes is, I mean, with high school athletes, like unfortunately they're on their phones all the time. Pretty much everybody's got social media. And so what I usually do is I'll tag my athletes, I'll post videos of my athletes, and almost like 90% of the time they'll share it to their story. They'll share it to their friends. All their friends see it, and then that sends in like more referrals basically. So I've gotten quite a bit of I don't know, it goes hand in hand with the referrals, but it's just like digital referrals as opposed to word of mouth referrals.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, social media has kind of been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I think it has for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous of the fact that you post every day.
Yeah.
How do you motivate yourself to do that?
It's literally like, it's just something I have to do. It's like, or not a habit. It's just like a habit. Yeah, pretty much. Like,
habit now, yeah.
A lot of times what I'll do is have like a day where I make content, and I'll save it the night before, and then just when I wake up in the morning, like first thing I do is I'll just hit the draft, post it, and then I'm basically good for the day.
Yeah. People don't realize how much of a necessity that is today.
Mm-hmm.
And most people that I talk to now on this podcast, the most random jobs, you'd never even consider that. You'd be like, oh, you're a sports performance coach. All you do is focus on your athletes, which is most of what you do probably. But there's also that aspect of like, we're trying to grow clients, and you have to post every day.
100%. Yeah.
I
think that's the thing people don't realize. Well, I mean, there's truth. I mean, there's a truth, and there's also like, I think social media can be detrimental because sometimes people think it's all about posting. But if I had to choose between word of mouth and posting, I would choose word of mouth. Relationships, building the relationship with the parents. That's always going to be better than social media.
Yeah, and it's authentic. When somebody tells you, "Hey, I worked with this coach for a long time, got great results."
Yeah.
That's way more trustworthy. You feel a lot better about reaching out to that coach versus seeing somebody online. You never know if it's
exactly.
fake.
Sure. Yeah. And then, kind of just going back to what you were saying, like, that's the thing about being in the private sector is it's not just training athletes. That's probably about half of it. It's also the, being able to retain, your clients, being able to market yourself, programming behind the scenes. So there's really a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What does your normal day look like?
So actually, right now my mornings are pretty free, and that's I actually don't mind it. I know there's a lot of personal trainers and stuff that will start their day at 6 a.m. But as of right now, I mean I have had 6 a.m. clients in the past, but as of right now, I don't really have much in the mornings. So I kind of get to sleep in a little bit, and then I start my day with my content on social media, and then I'm always trying to read something and learn. I think that's a big just life hack in general, even as a trainer or whatever you do, is just you always got to keep learning, or else you'll fall behind. And so I try to read at least 10 pages of a book a day. And then, usually I'll eat my breakfast and my lunch. And then a lot of times if it is a workout day, I'm usually able to fit my workout in the morning. And then afternoon wise, from about 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock, that's usually when I train clients. That's pretty full day. And then usually if I do need to work on programming, I'll get that done in the mornings. But yeah, it's pretty full day for me.
Are you going 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
As of right now, I train clients 7 days a week.
So you're just taking them whenever. If
pretty
somebody
much,
asks for a time, you're
pretty
at
much. And right now, I'm lucky where I'm in the position where I don't have kids. So I can pretty much work.
Pretty much do whatever.
Yeah. But I know it's probably not as sustainable, or the work-life balance I have right now is probably not sustainable. But like I said, I'm young, I'm 23, I'm in the position to where I can do it.
You can build it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're in that grind mode right now.
Absolutely.
You don't have a family to deal with yet. You can just grind it out and establish yourself a little bit.
100%. And then I think hopefully once I get my name, and I think I'm starting to establish my name a little bit more, but then, hopefully that's when I can start playing it a little bit smarter. Training groups, I know, is a big way that trainers say it's life, or it's a hack basically, because instead of making $20 a session, you could be making up to $100 a session if you have 10 athletes you're working with. So
yeah, I had a barber on here a while back, and I was asking him about that because I was a little bit confused on what his actual goals were long term. If you keep growing, you can only handle so many clients in a day.
Yeah.
And his response was basically, you just keep increasing prices.
That too, yeah. And I have actually, when I was at the Y, actually, it kind of makes me makes me laugh. I remember one of the first athletes I ever trained, like we went to a soccer field and they were just paying me, $20 a session, but at that time that was a lot to me, like $20 an hour. And then that was when I was working at the Y, so it was more than what I was getting paid at the Y. And at that time, I think that's kind of, you have to do that at first. You have to work for free or else little pay. But you're also getting invaluable experience.
For sure.
Because I think like back to when I was training, that athlete, a lot of those drills I was doing, with her, I'm still doing today with some of these higher level athletes. And it was great experience. And now I charge $60 an hour.
Right.
So it's just kind of
that was your form of an internship almost.
Almost, yeah.
You sacrifice a little bit, gain that experience.
Almost, yeah. And there were athletes I trained for free, like like I think there was a time where I posted on my Instagram story, come in and I'll train you and we'll shoot content from Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to get a few clients on there, or a few, athletes that come in, and we literally just shot videos, and I think it kind of created the perception that I was training these high level athletes, but it was really just one session for free. But the followers didn't need to know that.
Right, yeah, they don't need to.
Yeah.
It's just growth for yourself,
For sure.
Sometimes you got to do stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely.
When you first started doing this and you were doing those free sessions and stuff, was it a little bit scary and nerve-wracking? Or were you always just so confident in yourself that you just didn't care?
I would just say, it is scary. It is nerve-wracking, especially like when I was at the Y, and I've been doing this for 3 years officially. I've been with Amplify about 1 year now. But it's taken me a long time to build my clientele, and I think that's what sports performance coaches, trainers in general, they have to understand, is it takes time. But it's been, like I said, it's been a passion of mine. Like, I love it. If you have 2 clients, I think you just got to give those 2 clients you have everything you got. And then just keep being like, there's a book called Grit. The most successful people are like the grittiest. They're passionate and they're perseverant for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I feel like I've been that way ever since I started, and I'm just continuously trying to get the ball rolling more and more each and every day.
It's all about connections, man.
Absolutely, it is, and
that's all it is.
I've gotten lucky. I've gotten some parents that have big names like in the baseball community.
I was gonna say a lot of your clientele, maybe not the athletes themselves, but they probably come from a wealthier family.
Oh,
right?
100%, yes.
If somebody's paying for their kid to go through private lessons with you,
yeah, you're right, and that's kind of our target demographic is those parents that can afford training,
those upper class parents that want their kids to excel in athletics.
100%, and I don't know. I don't know what you think. I've had some people say like they don't think Wichita is the place to do that because there's not the money, but I would disagree. Like I feel like I've seen it firsthand that there's almost like parents that are willing to pay just about anything just to get their kids better.
Anywhere you go, I think you're going to have
100%,
people with money.
Yeah,
and there's plenty of people that I know of in Wichita that have a lot of money.
Yes,
and there's a lot of schools. I mean, your school even.
All the private schools.
All the private schools. Yep.
Yeah, they say, I don't know. They say like I've had people tell me like, oh, those schools should be your target demographic.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I haven't gotten a whole lot of athletes from those private schools. And I think kind of like we talked about, a lot of times high schools are having like sport coaches run their weight programs, but it's actually the private schools that are able to afford people like CSCS certified that can come in. That's a good point,
yeah.
And so that's why I haven't gotten a whole lot of those. I think that's why I haven't gotten a whole lot of those kids.
That would make sense. I mean, they have the money to pay for shit like that.
Absolutely.
They operate more like a college than they do a high school.
No, I would agree. And their facilities are almost
crazy.
Yeah, they're nice. Yeah,
I could definitely see that. Yeah. But there's still wealthy families all around public schools.
For sure.
Even a lot of small towns.
Yeah, because I've been training a lot of Derby and Mulvane kids, and I feel like there's been wealth kind of down there, and I think you just have to scope it out, and then there's also like the club sport families, like those like club baseball, club volleyball, like they charge $1,000 to $2,000 just to get into a club sports season, and so I think those families are typically the ones that would probably have the money to pay for private training as well. Yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy the amount of money some of these parents will put into their athletes with private speed training and then skill training and then club sports.
Hopefully it pans out.
Yeah, I'd hope so too.
Do you ever have kids or parents even that are just they kind of give up and they're like, I don't really see any results out of this?
I feel like not really, because I've done a lot better job now with Amplify. We have laser timers, we have a vertical jump mat, and we usually test them about once a month. And I almost every single time I see improvements in the athletes, and it helps when you have like a baseline data, and then you can compare it month to month to see, show them how much they're getting better. There have been some cases where athletes have quit or not quit, but like have stopped training with me. And I think sometimes it can be tricky with athletes is a lot of times they're a lot busier. Whereas like, cause with the general population, you usually get those people year round and they're usually pretty consistent. With the athletes, sometimes they can be a little bit less consistent because again, like I said, they can always have sport practices to schedule around and whatnot. And sometimes I feel like that can be an argument made as to why they're not improving or getting results. Is a lot of times athletes will be missing sessions. It's hard to make results when you're only getting in, twice a month with me.
Right.
So,
what is your opinion on supplements and stuff like that? Do you recommend it to your kids?
So it's actually Amplify. We have our own supplement line. So we have like protein powder, creatine. Basically have everything pre-workout. Then probably the top two I recommend to my kids is protein powder, especially for the kids that need to bulk. So I work with a lot of like male athletes, like baseball, football. So a lot of those kids are just kind of skinny. They're still going through puberty.
Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're good.
But when it comes to like bulking and stuff and just looking huge, that's not necessarily beneficial for an athlete, is it?
Not necessarily, but like I said, I have like freshmen in high school. Basically, like I said, like going back to the kids that are lifting on their own, they're doing baseball skills practice and they're doing speed work with me. I tell them, those kids are burning thousands of calories a day with all that activity.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's not even about looking huge. It's just about getting the calories in their body just to fuel all that activity and the protein to rebuild those muscles. So that's why I recommend protein powder typically. And I would tell my kids, like back when I was bulking myself for college football, something I would do is I'd get protein powder, milk, oatmeal, peanut butter, banana. I put that in a blender, and that's like 700 calories right there. And I would do that like 3 times a day. So you're
just trying to get as many calories as possible
for sure. And yeah, it's like
that's my dream right there.
And that's that. I miss those days myself because when I was playing football and lifting and practicing, I could literally eat whatever the hell I wanted.
Oh yeah.
And I would I wouldn't get fat. And now unfortunately it's turned a little bit. I can't really eat those calories as much.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, a lot of people equate that with age, and I'm not real sure about that.
Yeah, it's probably more
physical activity.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, because I went through military boot camp, and we would eat so much, and I was just, fit, just looked good. And, being out for so long now from that stage of my life, it's like if I order something, I'm like, I don't know, that's 300 more calories for that,
Right.
I would love to have the problem of trying to find calories and trying to add calories.
Sure. That's the thing I tell these kids. Like, this probably may not be the best like nutrition advice, but like sometimes I'll say like it's not going to kill them if they eat a cheeseburger and fries from McDonald's.
For sure,
they just need the calories.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easier to get calories from McDonald's than it is to eat chicken and rice. Not everybody loves to.
You got to eat a lot of chicken.
Yeah, for sure.
Eat a big ribeye.
Yes, exactly.
I have no problem doing that every day.
Yeah.
Do you think, like health-wise and stuff, it's more important to be physically active and working out all the time, or is it more nutritionally important?
I feel like they go hand in hand. I would honestly say, I feel like the physical activity is probably a little bit more important in my opinion. It depends on what the goals are. Like if somebody's trying to look aesthetically pleasing and have a six-pack, I would say the nutrition is going to be more important. But if you're just looking to be healthy and injury free, I would say the physical activity is going to be more important.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what your boy Tiger, if I remember correctly, said too, is that you can basically eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
As long as you're,
That's kind of how I am right now. Is I work out 3 or 4 days a week, and then I feel like I have a very, very active job with demonstrating exercises for my athletes and walking around, being on my feet all day. Like my diet, I'll be the first to admit my diet's not very good, and so I still feel like I have a decent physique for how bad I eat.
Yeah.
So
can't complain there, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Going back to like supplements and stuff though, again, with kids that are that young going through puberty and stuff, would you recommend them not using creatine?
Creatine I don't think is horrible. It's a natural substance.
It's naturally produced by your body.
Yeah, so they could honestly be on that just about year round, and not have any side effects. I mean, the only thing is it does make you retain water, so usually it makes it more important to drink lots of water. But I do think whole foods is the best
way to get your
absolutely.
calories and stuff.
Yeah, and when I was in middle school, I would drink. There was a diet, they call it like a gallon of milk a day. I'd probably drink half a gallon of milk. But
that was a thing?
It is, yeah. And it's milk. Whole milk is one of the best. I would say bulking hacks is it's loaded with calories and fat and protein, and I don't know if you see it. There's some teams that will do chocolate milk post workout recovery.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
That, a lot of athletes have said that their best post workout recovery is chocolate milk.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and
unless you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I think it's good for the super active athletes like football players and stuff like that, because they can get away with the calories and the sugar.
There's some people like UFC fighters and stuff. They'll drink like a Pepsi after their workout.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they're especially UFC and wrestling, those are some different breed sports where you're sweating and you're probably burned over thousands of. I used to wrestle back in the day. So.
Okay. Do you ever work with any fighters, MMA or anything like that?
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
Would you be open to doing that?
I
if
would.
Some kid was going through jiu-jitsu or something and you wanted some advice from
I definitely would. I do have some wrestlers that I train. But yeah, I've never really worked with like a boxer or UFC like martial arts or anything like that. But yeah, definitely would be open to that.
Now, when it comes to steroids and stuff like that, the illegals, obviously you're not going to ever recommend your athletes or students to be on those, hopefully.
No, I wouldn't.
What's your opinion on them, though, as a whole?
I mean, they're proven to work, proven performance enhancements.
Yeah.
I just don't think the side effects are worth it, in my opinion. And I do think, I don't know what the word is, like morally, I don't think it's really right to be taking steroids in high school when everybody's all natural. Like,
do you think we should be allowing it more in sports?
Not in high school.
Not in high school.
I would even say not in college either. I mean, the professionals, I think that's where people get away with it.
Like bodybuilding, Tiger said that it's a necessity.
That
in
is
that
a
world.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
But that's just purely physique.
Exactly.
Obviously, like fighting and stuff, you don't want people to be roided out, knocking each other out. Probably.
No, not really. I mean, like I said,
what about like baseball?
I mean, it is common in baseball with like I think when Barry Bonds was proven to be on roids.
They were juicing.
I mean, I feel like with any sport, roids is going to help you. In football, it's going to help you have more size, and it's going to help you sprint faster. I don't know if Tiger Woods was on steroids.
I don't know if it'd really help you in some sports.
Yeah, probably like
soccer and basketball and
ones
where it's just like really cardio heavy.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Well, Lance Armstrong, I think, was on steroids.
Oh yeah, that's right, he was.
Yeah, so
maybe you will.
Yeah, I think pretty much any sport, roids would help you and give you some type of advantage.
If it was up to you, if you were the president right now and it was in your hands to allow roids in certain sports, would you keep it as it is?
I would keep it as it is. Yeah, I just think
you wouldn't let people like Barry Bonds knock him out of the park, juice it up.
No, just because, like I said, the way I was, I became an athlete was just all through hard work in the weight room and doing it the natural way. And I think, that's the thing is if you got somebody on roids, they may not even have to lift. Whereas you got guys that are, working their butt off in the weight room.
That's something that a lot of people tout, though, that have done steroids. They say that you have to work harder if you're doing steroids. You don't just get it by juicing. You got to be
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
weight room.
you are right. Like recovery time decreases, so they could probably work out like 2 or 3 times
more.
a day. Yeah, and not be as sore and get faster results. But yeah, I still wouldn't
recommend it.
Yeah, no, no.
We hear Liver King just came out and said that he was roiding the whole time.
Really?
You know him?
I don't think so.
You heard of the Liver King?
No, I think it's like.
Oh man, he's the new internet sensation
Okay.
right now. Yeah,
I'll have to
eats
look
raw
up.
meat.
Gotcha.
Shredded.
Is there a Netflix documentary?
I don't think so. I've just been seeing random shit online about him every now and then.
Yeah.
But he finally admitted that he was on steroids.
Yeah,
people have been saying it for a while.
At least I think it's good when people at least admit they're on steroids.
Yeah.
As opposed to the people that, just lie about it. I think it's just not cool.
Yeah.
Because then it sends a false image to like the aspiring youth athletes, that they can get there naturally.
Right.
So.
Are there any other weird misconceptions in your world of athletes or performance training that people have?
I would say, like going back to the social media, I think everything's kind of turned, and I'm maybe guilty of it myself. Is things have kind of turned into just advanced drills you'll see all the time on social media. Those are the ones most popular, like doing some weird quick feet ladder drill is probably going to get more likes than somebody doing a bodyweight push-up, but it's really, I think it's the fundamentals of learning how to move properly, learning how to do a push-up before you go into a bench press, learning how to properly squat, learning how to pump your arms properly, drive your knees. Like, those are the things athletes need
just
to
proper form.
Yeah, they need to hammer that every single day, but the thing is, those clips probably won't get the most likes on Instagram, whereas these weird cone and ladder drills are the ones that are blowing up on people's timelines.
Just because it looks impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
Exactly.
It's all about that attention grabbing
sure.
stuff that just looks crazy.
Definitely.
What's the number one exercise or workout you think an athlete could do to improve their overall performance?
Well, it's hard to say like what they're trying to do.
I guess they probably all have different goals. That's not
Yeah.
really a fair question.
Uh-huh.
But is there something that stands out to you that really you've seen a lot of great results with?
Oh, actually, I do. Yeah. One is heavy sled pushes. That's, I think, any age from youth athletes even to older adults, they can do sled pushes. But it's perfect because it mimics that sprinting pattern. Like you have to drive your knees, you have to attack the ground. I think it's probably the best drill for athletes to do, or one of the best movements for athletes.
That's just putting weight on a sled and pushing it?
Yeah, and I would say you can load that thing up to, I have athletes that can do almost 500 pounds on that.
Is that different than pulling it?
So there's two different ways. Well, I like doing both. There's the sled push. That mimics more of the sprinting mechanics. And then there's like you can attach a TRX and then you can just grab it and walk straight back. And that's actually really good for like knee health, and it hits more of the front of the quads. So actually at Amplify, we had like a little test where I would do it with my athletes where they push it down to the end of the turf about 10 yards, as much weight, and then they pull it back. So it's like basically the sled push and pull. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds with the sprinting mechanics, and then also you're hitting the front of the quads with the pull.
What about putting weight behind you and pulling it forwards? Is that the same motion as pushing it?
Like attaching like a harness?
Yeah, I've seen like harness sleds where people are like trying to sprint.
That's not horrible. It's not my fit. I don't really do it a whole lot.
You think pushing a sled is a lot more effective?
Definitely. So
that's something that stands out that you've been like seeing crazy
100%.
results with.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think that's probably the best thing for athletes to do is heavy sled pushes. That will almost, I feel like if you can do that on a consistent basis, that will almost guarantee your sprinting time will go down.
So that would be like one of your biggest pieces of advice to somebody out there that's like, hey, I really want to get faster.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I think there's more that goes into it. I think also just sprinting, doing sprints at full speed is like a non-negotiable. I think, just one of the fastest ways to sprint, faster is to actually sprint. And that's something I like. Like I said, I have my radar timers with the lasers, and I feel like when athletes are being timed, they're more likely to sprint full speed as opposed to just running down and back.
Oh yeah.
So
they got that mental.
Exactly.
It's
they're
like,
always,
the clock is on
for sure, and they're always trying to beat their times.
Yeah.
So we like using that a lot.
There is something to that kind of stuff,
for sure, 100%. Yeah, when
tricking them almost.
When they have baseline times and when they have something to compete against, I think that, and even sometimes they'll do like partner speed drills where they basically have to chase down their partner and tag them, and that just gives them an incentive to sprint faster.
Mm-hmm.
So,
hell yeah, man. What would you say are the best and worst parts of being a sports performance coach?
I think just the best part for me is it's just so rewarding, helping athletes, get to where they want to be and being a part of their life, just, being that extra person that cares about them. I've had athletes write me thank you notes. I love going to their games and watching them compete.
Seeing your direct results play out in like a game or something.
100%.
Yeah, that's got to feel great.
Yeah, and then even then, it's not even so much about the athleticism increasing. It's also the self-confidence. There's a lot of times you'll get those kids that are a little bit more introverted and they maybe don't believe in themselves as much. And then, 6 months or a year down the line after training and seeing their improvements, they start just becoming different human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's super rewarding. Getting to see that as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's something that a lot of kids go through too, especially when they're in that weird age where you're still developing mentally and physically, and you kind of just don't know what your purpose is,
100%.
who you are.
Yeah.
So to have that extra person there that's working one-on-one like you, that's got to be huge for them,
Absolutely.
Makes them believe in themselves a lot more.
Yeah. So very, very rewarding.
Are there any cons, things that you hate about it?
I would say one is the hours can be tough, where you're basically working 4 o'clock to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
I usually don't eat dinner until like 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's usually my dinner time after I get home from the gym.
McDonald's, right? On the way home.
sometimes like I don't have time to cook, so I'll just grab something on the way home. And it can be very busy, so like, honestly, where I'm at in my career, my sessions and my clients take priority. So sometimes I don't necessarily have the time to work out as long as I'd like to. And then sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain, marketing and, getting payments from parents and stuff like that, and sometimes there are those pushy parents that are like, oh, I'm paying you a lot of money, I want to see this improvement, or sometimes parents will try and watch sessions and coach their kids and play the assistant coach role, and that can be a little annoying.
That'd be annoying.
Yeah, but luckily most of the parents I have, like, a lot of times they just leave their kids alone, and the kids will drive themselves to the training session. And there's some parents like I've never really met in person. I always try to make a phone call or send an email to keep them up to date, but always kind of do appreciate that when the parent kind of lets their athlete and me just train and, leaves us alone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're dealing with people, and any job where you're dealing with people, you're going to have those ones that stand out as assholes or weirdos or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the way you kind of have to think about it as a sports performance coach or even business owner, entrepreneur, is like these parents, these clients, they're the ones paying your bills, they're the ones, they're kind of like your boss in a way.
Yeah.
So you got to do everything you can to please them and, make sure they're happy.
Is this something you can make a great living in?
I think so. I think it takes a lot of work. I think that's the thing with the balance. That's the difference I see with private sector and the college strength and conditioning is, college strength and conditioning, maybe there's a little bit more stability because you're getting salary, consistent paychecks, whereas pretty much what I'm doing is basically all commission based. So like I said, continue to grind.
It's all on your own.
It is. It's up to you. Like, that's what I like. I have a lot of freedom to kind of do as I please. But yeah, it's up to me, to find these clients, to find these athletes, train them up as best as I can. And, I think, like I said, I think people love passion, and so if they see, like the parents, if they see, this guy is giving my son, my daughter, everything he's got for an hour, out of his day, I think they're more likely to refer, and they'll understand, like, you got to make a living. And so
Right.
I think the ceiling's pretty high if you can find consistent athletes and consistent clients. I think you can make good money. And
Right on, man.
so
Do you have any advice for anybody out there that would consider this career path, or for a kid maybe that's trying to become a super athlete?
yeah, I mean, I'd say first, just be passionate, be persistent. It's all, like I said, it's not really all about how talently or athletically gifted you are and talented. It's just, I think, work ethic and drive, and finding that fire inside of you is what's gonna take you far. In both in your sport if you're a young athlete, but also if you're a trainer, or a sports performance coach looking to make a career. It's that same drive you had when you were an athlete that you gotta take to your career.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hell yeah, man. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
absolutely, yeah. So then, like I said, if you're a young athlete that's looking for training, or if you're you're a sports performance coach looking to get in this setting, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Number one social media platform I use is Instagram. It's at David Akao Training. And then I use Facebook, just David Akao on Facebook. Basically, don't ever really turn down any friend requests.
Yeah.
I use TikTok, David Akao Training. I try to use every platform, LinkedIn. So
Twitter?
No, actually, I'm not a big Twitter guy.
No Twitter?
No. I think I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it.
Yeah.
But, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, I try to post. Well, Instagram and Facebook, I basically post daily, and then like the TikTok and LinkedIn, it's probably about weekly sometimes.
Right on. And
So-
for everybody listening, that's all in my description. It's all on my social media platforms too. So find the episode, go to the description, and you'll see all of those links there to his social medias. You can find him. You want to tell him like a website for your gym or something like that?
Yes. So gym I train out of primarily is amplifymytraining.com. We are located inside of Wichita Hoops, and then we are looking, like the Derby and Mulvane kids. We do have a South location and a Derby location that we're working on right now. So we got a lot of options, and we'd love to help you out.
Hell yeah, brother. Thanks for sharing all that today. I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming on here. It means a lot to
Yeah,
me.
thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Trainer Dave, folks.
Yes.
Cheers, sir. Go Cats.